If you earned more, you are 255% more likely to get an indication of interest on these applications. I would love to live in a world where that wasn't the case, but it seems that women are still choosing men that earn much more money.
Stephen Bartlett would love to live in this world where women did not prefer men who are better providers. That is why I am so glad that there's so little we can do to change the basic nature of men and women, because there is a very good reason why women prefer better providers. Check out what Erica Komisar says in response.
There's a reason for that, though. So what we haven't talked about, can we talk about children now?
Sure, we can talk about whatever you like. Yeah.
If you want to raise children and be the primary attachment figure for your children, and it's usually the mother, sometimes it's the father now, but it's still usually the mother. Children need a primary attachment figure as present as possible in the first 3 years if they are going to be mentally healthy in the future. All of the research shows that. If you're going to be as physically present as possible, unless you've saved a lot of money as a woman, you need to depend on your partner, on your team member. My husband and I were a team. Before we had children, we both earned a lot and worked really hard and spent our money equally. But then we decided it was a strategy. We were going to have children, and I was going to work as little as possible so I could be there for them. And he did the bulk of the earning. And now the joke is, I'm out in the world and I'm going to be taking over and he's going to be sitting by the pool, and I'd be fine with that. But that's what teamwork is. But the idea that I could lean on my husband financially in those years and not have to earn money and be able to be present for my children, there is a very good reason why that is critical for children. And we don't talk about children. We're sitting here, this is the first time we talked about children. We're talking about adults. And individuals. And no, children are dependent on us. If you don't have to have children to be happy, but if you are going to bring children into this world, you have a responsibility to those children, and it surpasses any individual desire you may have.
And you're saying the mother should be there in those opening years?
The primary attachment figure, who's usually the mother. Daycare is terrible for children. Let's define daycare. Daycare is anything under the age of 3. Otherwise, we call it preschool. We used to call it nursery school, 3 to 5 before kindergarten. Okay. So anything under the age of 3 where you put your child in group care is daycare. And what it really is, they're day orphanages. You separate a baby who needs skin-to-skin contact, the sound of their mother's voice, her eyes, her physical and emotional presence to soothe that baby when they're in distress from moment to moment, to help to regulate their emotions. So 2 things mothers do. They buffer children from stress, which is so important because the part of their brain that regulates stress is meant to remain offline for the first year and very quietly, slowly come online for the next 2 years. So what are we doing? We're throwing babies into these institutional orphanages. It's overstimulating. It's stressful. If you walk into any daycare, you are going to hear many, many children crying. Children are not meant to cry much in the first year. They're meant to be held by their mothers and held against their mothers' bodies. So they buffer children from stress and they regulate their emotions. So what we're seeing as a mental health crisis is a crisis of emotional regulation issues in children, adolescents, and adults. Depression, anxiety, ADHD, these are all emotional regulation issues. That means people cannot regulate their emotions. And so we're just giving them pills. We're not saying, where does emotional regulation come from? What's the origin of it? And the origin of it is in the very early days of your life. If you had a mother who soothed you when you were in distress from moment to moment, it regulates your emotions. So it's only after 3, 85% of the right brain is developed by 3. It's only after 3 that you start to internalize the ability to regulate your own emotions or to deal with stress and adversity in the future.
My favorite moment in this entire debate is when Erica Komisar said, "Can we talk about children?" This is the constant problem with these conversations. This debate had been going on for over an hour, trying to understand how men and women are wired, why they're wired that way, and nobody brought up children until Erica Komisar sort of forces the issue. And so it was possible they were going to have an entire conversation around the reason why women prefer men who are better providers without even bringing up the topic of children, which is obviously the main reason why that desire exists. The reason why this is so difficult for people to even see is because they have a pre-existing conviction that the gender is a social construct. They don't understand that gender is a family construct. When Erica Komisar said that, hey, we're a team. I'm a team with my husband, and we work together to try to figure out what's the best way for us to care for our children. That is a totally appropriate conversation to try to figure out how to divide all of that work uniquely in each couple's relationship. But it's important to understand the reason for a lot of these innate desires is so that men and women can form a team and maximally be working together to benefit children. Anytime men and women go to war, children lose. And so children are always the elephant in the room in these conversations. Please never have a debate about the difference between men and women, whether or not it's good or bad, without bringing up children. You'll never understand the root reason why the gender exists. Gender is a family construct. It's designed to create a certain kind of family team that maximizes our ability to raise our children. So that's what she constantly is bringing these conversations. I'm so grateful. If you guys want to go a little bit deeper into this whole topic, I had a fantastic interview with Catherine Picolic. She is the author of Hannah's Children, and she has done the most extensive research on the women in America who are having large families. And she goes deep into the reason why this gender construct exists for the sake of children. So check out this video.